Hi there, I'm Julia, and I'm so happy you're here. I know how much courage and intention it takes to simply press play and choose to listen to something in English. Maybe you're feeling unsure about your progress. Maybe you wonder if you're ever going to sound natural or understand fast conversations. Maybe you feel tired or frustrated. I want you to know that those feelings are completely normal. You're not alone in them. And even more importantly, they don't mean you're not improving. In fact, showing up today, right now, is proof that you're already growing. So take a breath, relax your shoulders, and let's move forward together. Learning English doesn't have to feel like a battle. It can feel like a walk. Not a race, not a sprint, but a steady walk with new views along the way. Some days the road feels smooth, and other days it feels a bit uphill. But every step counts. Every word you hear, every sentence you try to say, every mistake you reflect on, all of it builds your fluency. And yes, even the moments when you feel stuck are part of the learning. Those are the moments when your brain is actually reshaping itself to handle new information. Isn't that amazing? Let's make this time together feel like a peaceful space. You don't need to be perfect here. You don't need to understand every word. You don't need to memorize or take notes. Just listen. Let the rhythm of the language flow through your ears. Let yourself feel the meaning even if some words float by. Trust that your brain is doing more than you think. The process is happening inside you. Just like when a seed grows roots before it ever breaks the surface, your English is growing beneath the surface. And soon, you'll see it more clearly. I know some people might have told you that you need to work harder, that you have to study for hours, that you must memorize lists of vocabulary and grammar rules. But here, I want you to experience something different. I want you to feel calm. I want you to remember why you wanted to speak English in the first place. Was it to connect with people around the world? To travel? To enjoy music or movies in English? To feel more confident at work? Whatever your reason is, hold it gently in your mind right now. That reason matters. It's your personal motivation, and it will carry you forward more than any textbook ever will. You're not just learning a language. You're building a relationship with English. Think of it like a friendship. When you first meet someone, you don't know everything about them. You don't understand every word they say, but you spend time with them. You listen, you laugh, you make mistakes, and you try again. Over time, the connection becomes deeper. You start to speak more freely. You feel more yourself. That's how it works with English too. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Let's pause for a second and notice your breathing. Just breathe in and out slowly. Let your body relax. You're here to listen, to absorb, to enjoy. That's enough. You don't need to be in a rush. You don't need to compare yourself to others. You don't need to measure your progress by how many words you can say today. Progress often happens in silence. Progress is in the effort you repeat day by day, and that's exactly what you're doing now. Sometimes we wait for the perfect moment to start something new, but the perfect moment rarely arrives. What really matters is consistency. Being here today, listening with curiosity is a powerful step. And the beautiful thing is, you can return to this space whenever you need. You can listen again tomorrow or next week. This is your time, your journey, and there is no one right way to do it. You might be listening while cooking, walking, or lying in bed. However you're joining today, I'm here with you. I'm speaking just for you. And I want you to know, you're doing something truly meaningful. Even when it feels small, it's not. Learning a language is one of the most human things we can do. It connects us. It opens doors. It teaches us patience, creativity, and resilience. Let this moment be about connection, not correction. About experience, not expectation. Let your ears grow familiar with the patterns, the tone, the sounds of English. It's okay to not understand everything. It's okay to replay something if it helps. It's okay to just let it wash over you. There's no test at the end. There's no score. Only you, listening, and letting the language become a part of your world. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not too slow. You're exactly where you need to be. You're doing exactly what a good learner does. Showing up, listening, and trusting the process. That's real learning. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's quiet, gentle, steady, like water shaping a stone, one drop at a time. Every time you listen, your brain is mapping out the sounds. Your ears are training to recognize rhythm. Your mind is getting used to the logic of the language. And even if you don't notice it right away, this practice is working. You'll notice it one day when you understand a sentence without translating, when you speak without overthinking, when you respond and surprise yourself. Those moments are coming. Keep walking, keep breathing, keep listening. You're doing something that many people only wish they could do. You're creating change. You're building your skills gently and consistently. And every minute counts. So let's take this time and make it something that feels like a gift, not a task. Like a moment of peace in the middle of your day. Like something just for you. I'll be here with you, speaking clearly and naturally, not to test you, but to support you. This space is for practice, for listening, for growing your English in a way that feels kind to your mind. And even if this is your first time joining me, or your 100th time, I'm proud of you. I see your effort, I hear your progress, and I know you are capable of so much more than you may believe. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need to be perfect to participate. You just need to listen, to stay curious, to keep your heart open to learning. That's the path. That's how real fluency is built. With care, with consistency, and with kindness. Let's walk this path together, at your pace. I'm here to remind you that you don't need to rush. You're already on your way, and everything you need to succeed is already inside you. I'll help you unlock it. Step by step, story by story. When I was younger, I lived in a small apartment building on a quiet street. Every morning as I looked out the window, I saw the same elderly man walking past at the exact same time. He was tall and thin, always wearing a light blue cap and holding a small radio in his left hand. No matter the weather, rain, wind, cold, or heat, he walked, slowly but with purpose. Every step seemed intentional. At first, I didn't pay much attention. He was just part of the scenery. But over time, I began to notice something in his routine that stayed with me. One morning, I left for work earlier than usual and saw him a few blocks away, resting on a bench. I stopped for a moment, curious, and smiled at him. He nodded back and said, "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" I agreed, and we started talking. That's how I first met Mr. Adrian. He told me he had been walking every single day for over 20 years. He didn't do it to lose weight or impress anyone. He did it because many years ago, he had suffered a small stroke. The doctors told him he needed to move more if he wanted to stay healthy. He decided to walk every day, just for 20 minutes. At first, he could barely make it to the end of the street without needing to rest. His legs would hurt, his breath would shorten. People told him it might be too much, but he kept walking. Slowly, step by step. Some days he only walked for 5 minutes. Other days, he would make it around the entire block. He told me that the hardest part was not the walking itself. It was the commitment. Waking up every day and deciding once again to do something small that didn't feel very impressive. It's not glamorous, he said. It's not exciting, but it works, and it keeps me alive. That sentence stayed with me. It keeps me alive. He had no schedule printed on the wall, no app tracking his steps. Just a promise to himself. Get up, go outside, take a few steps. Over the years, his 20-minute walks became 40-minute strolls, then 1 hour. He told me that he started to recognize other people in the neighborhood. The woman who watered her plants every morning, the baker who always waved from the shop window, the boy who ran to catch the school bus. His simple habit gave rhythm to his days. And more than that, it gave him strength. Not just physical strength, but mental strength too. He said something that I've never forgotten. People think discipline means being hard on yourself, but it's the opposite. Discipline is being kind enough to yourself that you do what's good for you, even when no one is watching. I thought about how true that was, especially for language learning. So often we want big progress quickly. We want to feel fluent fast. But the real growth happens in the small, quiet habits. Listening for 5 minutes a day, repeating one sentence out loud, reading a short paragraph. It feels small, but it adds up. It builds fluency the same way Mr. Adrian built strength. 1. Quiet walk at a time. Years passed, and I moved to a different neighborhood. I stopped seeing Mr. Adrian on his daily walks. But one day, I returned to that old street for a visit, and there he was, still wearing his blue cap, still holding his little radio, still walking with that same quiet purpose. He looked older, of course. His steps were slower, but he was there, still moving, still showing up. And it reminded me once again how powerful small actions can be. That's the kind of story I hold close when I feel like giving up, when I think I'm not improving fast enough, when I feel like I should be doing more. I remember that strength isn't always loud, progress isn't always visible right away, but it's always there, in the effort, in the decision to continue, even when it's not easy, especially when it's not easy. And I think that's the lesson I want to share with you. Your journey with English is a lot like Mr. Adrian's walks. Some days you'll feel confident, and everything will flow. Other days, your mind might feel foggy, and the words won't come. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're walking, you're showing up. And that's the habit that will take you forward, step by step. If you only practice English for a few minutes today, that's enough. If you only learn one new phrase this week, that's enough. If you repeat one sentence out loud and feel awkward, that's still enough. Because each of these small actions creates momentum. Each one is a step. And over time, those steps become a path. A strong, steady path built by your own effort. It's easy to underestimate the power of simple routines. They don't make headlines, they don't feel dramatic, but they change lives. Just like Mr. Adrian changed his life by walking each day, you can change your English, and even your confidence, by taking small steps with consistency. Listen a little every day. Speak a little every day. Keep your connection with English alive. Don't wait for motivation. Build the habit. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fast. You just need to stay in motion. Language, like life, grows through repetition, through care, through presence. You might not notice the progress after one day or 1 week, but after 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, you'll be amazed by what's changed. And when those doubts come, because they will, think of Mr. Adrian and his quiet walks. Think of how many mornings he probably didn't feel like going outside. How many days were cold or rainy or lonely. And yet, he still walked. He still chose himself. He still honored the promise he made to his future. That's the kind of strength we all have inside us. So if you ever wonder whether your small efforts matter, let me tell you, they do. Every short practice session, every new word you repeat, every moment you spend listening, even when it feels like nothing is happening, it all matters. It's working, even if you can't see it right away. You're building something important, something real, something lasting. Small actions create big change. Keep walking. Keep listening. Keep going. I want to tell you about something that happened a few years ago. Something small but powerful. It's the kind of story I go back to when I need to remind myself that mistakes are not the end. They're part of the process. They teach us, they shape us, and they help us grow into stronger, more confident people. One afternoon, I was on the phone with my cousin, Sarah. She had just started a new job in a city she didn't know very well. It was her first day, and she was already nervous, trying to make a good impression, trying not to be late, trying to remember everything they had told her during orientation. That morning, she had taken the subway. She had double-checked the route the night before, written it down, even saved the directions on her phone. But as life often does, it threw her a little twist. The train she planned to take was delayed. Another one arrived on the same platform, and in a moment of panic and confusion, she jumped on it without checking the number. A few minutes later, she realized she was going the wrong way. She got off at the next station, looked around, and had no idea where she was. She called me, her voice shaking, and said, "I'm going to be late. I don't know where I am. They're going to think I'm irresponsible. Maybe I shouldn't have taken this job." I let her talk, let her spill out all the worry and pressure. And then I told her something I've learned over and over again in my own life. Getting lost doesn't mean you're not on the right path. It just means you're still figuring it out. She was quiet for a moment, and then I heard her take a deep breath. She looked at her map again, found a new route, and got to the office just 10 minutes late. She even laughed about it with her coworkers once she explained what had happened. What I love about that story is how human it is. We've all been in that place, lost, uncertain, afraid of being judged, afraid of failing. We try so hard to be perfect, especially when we're starting something new. But real life is full of wrong trains, missed turns, and unexpected moments. And every one of those moments is an opportunity to learn something, not just about the world, but about ourselves. I told Sarah that being late on her first day didn't define her. What defined her was the way she handled it. She didn't give up. She didn't go home. She didn't let fear make the decision for her. She figured it out and kept going. Since that day, I've started thinking more about how we talk to ourselves when things go wrong. So often, we're kind to others but harsh with ourselves. We forgive other people's mistakes, but we treat our own like proof that we're not good enough. I've made that mistake many times. But when I remember Sarah's story, I remind myself that the goal isn't to avoid mistakes. The goal is to move through them, to grow from them, to find new ways forward even when the path isn't clear. There was another time I made a mistake that still makes me smile when I think about it. I had been invited to give a short speech in English at an international event. I had practiced for weeks. I had written everything down, rehearsed in front of the mirror, recorded myself, corrected every small detail. But when the day came, I was so nervous that I skipped an entire paragraph in the middle of my talk. I didn't even realize it until I sat down and looked at my notes. My heart sank. I felt like I had failed. But after the event, a woman from the audience came to talk to me. She said, "Thank you for what you shared. I've been afraid to speak English for years, but seeing you up there, speaking honestly, made me feel a little braver." And in that moment, I understood something important. People don't connect to perfection. They connect to sincerity. They connect to effort. They connect to courage. And sometimes, a mistake is what makes your words more real, more relatable, more human. So if you're learning English and you make a mistake, say the wrong word, forget a sentence, or feel lost in the middle of a conversation, I want you to remember this. It's normal. Everyone makes mistakes. Even native speakers forget words, change their sentences halfway, or say things they don't mean. It's not about speaking perfectly. It's about being brave enough to try again. Every time you make a mistake and keep going, you're building something powerful. Not just your language, but your resilience, your confidence, your strength. When I work with students or talk to learners around the world, one of the most common questions I hear is, "What if I say it wrong?" And my answer is always the same. Then you say it wrong, and then you try again. And each time, you'll say it a little better. That's how progress works. It's not one big moment. It's hundreds of small tries. And each try is valuable. I remember helping a friend once with a job interview in English. He was nervous because he knew his grammar wasn't perfect. But I told him, "They're not hiring your grammar. They're hiring your ideas, your perspective, your heart. Let that come through." And it did. He made a few small mistakes during the interview, but he was clear, sincere, and focused. And he got the job. Not because he was perfect, but because he showed up and tried. These are the kinds of stories I carry with me. Not stories of perfection, but stories of persistence. Stories where someone fell and stood up again. Where someone got lost but found a new way. Where someone said something wrong but kept the conversation going. That's real progress. That's what builds fluency. And honestly, that's what builds character. So the next time you're in a daily situation, maybe trying to order food in English or send an email or answer a question, and you make a mistake, I hope you remember this. I hope you take a breath and say to yourself, "It's okay. I'm learning. I'll try again." Because that's what matters. Not being right every time, but having the courage to try one more time. Mistakes are signs that you're doing the work. They're signs that you're putting yourself in real situations, and that's where real learning happens. Every person you admire once stood where you are now. They made the same kinds of mistakes. They had doubts. They felt embarrassed. But they kept going. And so can you. You're allowed to get lost. You're allowed to forget. You're allowed to try again and again. What matters is that you don't let those moments define you. Let them teach you. Let them guide you. Let them remind you that learning is not about being perfect. It's about being willing. Willing to try. Willing to grow. Willing to keep moving forward, no matter what. There's something so special about the little moments we often overlook. The short conversations, the quick smiles, the gentle nods we exchange with people we barely know. I've come to believe that these small connections are far more powerful than we realize. They stay with us. They bring warmth to our days, often when we least expect it. One morning, not too long ago, I experienced one of those moments. It was nothing dramatic, nothing out of the ordinary, but it reminded me how meaningful even the simplest human connection can be. It was a quiet Tuesday. I had a lot on my mind, running through my list of things to do, already feeling overwhelmed before I had even started my day. I left my apartment early to take a walk and clear my head. As I reached the corner of my building, I noticed Mr. Grant, my neighbor from across the street. He's in his 70s, always wearing a brown jacket and a wool hat, no matter the season. He walks with a cane and always takes his time. I usually wave at him from a distance, and he always gives me a kind smile in return. But that morning, we ended up walking toward the same direction, and for the first time in months, we started talking. It began with something as simple as the weather. I said, "Nice breeze this morning," and he chuckled, replying, "Finally some relief from the heat." That's how it started. A comment about the air, a laugh about the sun, and before I knew it, we were walking side by side, talking about everything and nothing. He told me about how the neighborhood had changed over the years, how his children used to play in the same park that now had a brand new fence and artificial grass. I listened, genuinely curious. He spoke slowly, carefully choosing his words, and I felt my own pace slowing down too. Not just my steps, but my thoughts. He said something I'll never forget. It's easy to feel invisible as you get older. People pass by, they're busy, they look at their phones, but when someone stops to talk, even for a minute, it makes the day feel brighter. That line stayed with me. I realized in that moment how often we move through our lives without noticing the people around us. We get so focused on our responsibilities, our goals, our routines, that we forget how powerful a few words can be. Not just for others, but for ourselves too. That short conversation changed the entire tone of my day. I had started the morning feeling rushed and stressed, but after speaking with Mr. Grant, I felt grounded, more present. It reminded me that we're all sharing this world, these sidewalks, these little pockets of time. And when we take a moment to acknowledge someone else, with a greeting, a compliment, a short exchange, we build something meaningful, even if it only lasts a minute. This reminded me of another moment, much earlier in my life, when I was still a student. I used to take the same bus every morning. There was a woman who sat in the same seat each day, usually reading a book or staring quietly out the window. We never spoke. But one day, I noticed her struggling with her bag. One of the straps had snapped, and she was trying to hold it together while balancing her things. I reached over and offered to help her carry a few books. She smiled and said thank you, and that tiny gesture opened a door. From that day on, we started greeting each other, sometimes just a nod, sometimes a short chat about the weather or the traffic. Eventually, I learned that she was a teacher at a nearby school. Our conversations were always brief, but they became part of my daily rhythm, and I missed them when she wasn't on the bus. What struck me most was how that connection had formed so effortlessly, just because of one small act of kindness. It taught me that we don't need deep or long conversations to feel seen. We don't need to know someone's life story to care about them. Sometimes, simply showing up in someone's line of sight with a little warmth and attention is enough to make a difference. These small connections are even more important when we're learning something new, when we're navigating unfamiliar situations, like practicing English, for example. These moments can be encouraging in ways we don't always realize. I remember one of my students telling me about a time she ordered coffee in English for the first time. She was nervous, her voice shaky, but the barista smiled and said, "You speak very well." That single sentence gave her the confidence to try again the next day. A brief exchange, a simple compliment, and suddenly someone feels seen, supported, empowered. I think about how many people walk through the world feeling unnoticed. Maybe they're shy, maybe they're tired, maybe they're new to a place or new to a language. And then someone smiles at them, or says hello, or helps them carry something heavy, or even just shares a few kind words. That can be enough to shift their whole day, sometimes even their whole week. One of the things I love most about language learning is that it teaches us to notice. When you're learning a new language, you pay more attention to people, to gestures, to tone. You listen more carefully. You become more curious. And that curiosity opens the door to connection. It allows you to reach out, to make eye contact, to ask a question, to share a laugh. Even if your vocabulary is limited, even if your grammar isn't perfect, you still have the power to connect. I once met a woman from South Korea at a community event. Her English was basic, but her energy was warm. We sat next to each other at a table during lunch, and she offered me a homemade rice snack she had brought. I accepted it with gratitude, and we began talking, slowly, using simple words, pointing at things to help us understand each other. We talked about our favorite foods, the weather that day, and her children's names. It wasn't a deep or complex conversation, but it was real. It was kind. We shared something. And at the end, she said, "Thank you for listening to me. I always feel shy, but today I feel proud." That's the kind of power we all carry. The ability to make someone feel proud. To help someone feel visible. Not with grand gestures, but with presence. With a short conversation. A shared moment. A few minutes of genuine attention. So whenever I walk down the street or wait in line or step into an elevator, I remind myself that these are not just empty moments. They're opportunities. Every person I see is carrying their own story, their own thoughts, their own silent worries. And sometimes a simple, "Hi, how are you?" can make all the difference. Not just for them, but for me too. These moments connect us. They soften the hard edges of our day. They remind us that we belong to a shared world, even if our paths only cross for a second. Even now, as I speak to you, I know I may never meet you in person. But this space between us, your listening, my speaking, it's a connection too. A human one. It may be quiet, but it matters. Because what we share through language, through attention, through kindness, that's what stays with us. That's what builds a sense of meaning, a sense of care. So the next time you have a chance to say a kind word, to start a small conversation, to offer someone a smile, take it. You never know how much it might brighten their day. Or yours. When I think about household chores, I used to think of them as something heavy, something that had to be done, not something anyone looked forward to. Cleaning the kitchen, folding laundry, sweeping the floor. It always felt like a list of never-ending duties that just kept piling up. But one day, something shifted in the way I saw all of it, and it started with something very simple: music and a little teamwork. It was a rainy Sunday morning, the kind of morning when all you want to do is stay in bed, maybe with a good book or a warm drink. But the house needed some attention. The dishes from the night before were still stacked in the sink. The laundry basket was full, and the floors were covered with little footprints from a muddy walk the day before. I looked around and sighed, thinking, well, I guess today is cleaning day. But instead of doing it all by myself, like I often did, I decided to ask for help. I went to the living room and found my partner reading on the couch. I said, "How about we make this a team effort today? I'll do the dishes if you vacuum, and maybe we can race. Whoever finishes first gets to choose the movie tonight." He looked up and smiled. "Only if we play music," he said. I agreed. Immediately. We turned on the speaker and put on our favorite playlist. Upbeat, cheerful songs that we both liked. Suddenly, something shifted. Washing dishes didn't feel like a burden anymore. It became part of a rhythm. My hands moved in time with the music, and I could hear the hum of the vacuum in the next room. Every now and then, he'd pop his head in with a funny comment or a dance move just to make me laugh. I did the same. We joked, we moved, we got things done, and somehow we were also having fun. At one point, we both met in the hallway with arms full of towels and cleaning cloths. We stood there laughing because we looked like two characters from a sitcom, slightly messy, a little tired, but totally in sync. And I remember thinking, why didn't we do this before? Sharing the work didn't just make it easier, it made it lighter. It turned what felt like a chore into a connection. Later that day, as we folded laundry side by side, we talked about our week. Things we hadn't had the time to share in the busyness of daily life. What started as a task became a space for conversation, for laughter, for little surprises. It reminded me that routine, when shared, can be beautiful. Even something as simple as drying dishes together can feel like quality time. That day stayed with me. It taught me that we often underestimate the power of shared responsibility, not just in making things more efficient, but in bringing people closer. When we invite someone into the process, whether it's cooking dinner together, organizing a shelf, or setting the table, we're not just sharing the work. We're building something. We're building a sense of support, of teamwork, of care. And even if we do it imperfectly, with mistakes or little messes along the way, it becomes a memory. A moment we shared. A piece of our relationship. I've seen this happen in other homes too. I once visited a friend who has 3 young children. When I arrived, I expected to find the usual chaos. Toys everywhere, dishes in the sink, parents looking exhausted. But instead, I walked into a surprisingly calm, joyful scene. The children were helping set the table for dinner. One of them was folding napkins in funny little triangles. Another was proudly carrying plates. Their mother looked over and said, "We make a game out of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be shared." Later, as we sat down to eat, she told me how she used to feel overwhelmed by all the responsibilities. But then, she started inviting her kids into the tasks. Not to make them faster, but to make them more meaningful. And it worked. Not every day was smooth, but something had changed in the atmosphere of their home. There was more laughter, more cooperation, more ownership. And it all started with the simple idea that routine doesn't have to be a solo mission. It can be a shared dance. That conversation reminded me of something my grandmother used to say when I was little. Again, would help her make bread, standing on a stool to reach the counter. She'd let me pour the flour, stir the dough, and she always said, "When we do it together, it tastes better." At the time, I thought she meant the bread, but now I understand she was talking about life. When we share the process, even the messy, boring parts, everything feels a little warmer. And it doesn't always have to be within a family. I remember a time when I lived with 2 roommates during university. We had completely different schedules, different personalities, and different definitions of what clean meant. For a while, things were tense. Dishes would stay in the sink. Trash wouldn't get taken out. No one wanted to be the one to remind the others. But one day, instead of writing another note or sending another message, I suggested we make cleaning part of our weekly routine, together. I said, "Let's pick a time, put on music, and just get it done. All of us." To my surprise, they agreed. And from that point on, every Saturday morning became cleaning hour. We took turns choosing the playlist. We joked about who made the biggest mess that week. And by the end, the apartment sparkled, and so did our friendships. We stopped seeing chores as a reason to argue and started seeing them as something we could own together. That small shift made all the difference. These moments, as simple as they are, have shaped the way I look at daily life. I've come to believe that the heart of joy isn't found in big, extraordinary events, but in the way we move through the ordinary, together. The way we turn folding laundry into a chat. The way we make cooking dinner a shared act of care. The way we clean a room while singing off-key and laughing at ourselves. These are the threads that weave joy into the fabric of daily life. So now, when I look at a pile of dishes or a floor that needs sweeping, I don't feel the same weight. I remember the music, the conversations, the laughter. And I know that even the most mundane task has the potential to become something more, if I let it. If I invite someone in. If I stop seeing chores as punishment and start seeing them as opportunities to connect, to be present, to create small pockets of joy. The truth is, we're not meant to carry everything alone. Not in language learning, not in work, not at home. Life becomes lighter when we share it. And sometimes, the simplest way to strengthen a relationship is to fold a towel together, to take out the trash together, to laugh over who missed a spot while cleaning the window. It's not about doing it perfectly, it's about doing it together. That's where the joy lives. In the middle of the mess, the music, the movement, the shared effort. That's where routine becomes something more, something worth remembering, something worth repeating. I want to share a story with you that has stayed with me for a long time. It's the story of Andre, a man I met years ago when I was living in a small town where my cousin owned a furniture workshop. It wasn't a big place, just a garage-sized space with the smell of sawdust in the air and sunlight coming in through dusty windows. Andre had just started working there. He was quiet, often unsure of himself, always standing a little to the side, watching more than doing. In the beginning, he didn't talk much. You could see in his face that he was nervous. His hands would hover over tools like he was afraid to touch them. If someone gave him a simple task, sanding a piece of wood, sweeping the floor, he'd nod without saying anything and do it with care, but very slowly. Andre had never worked with wood before. He had worked in a supermarket, stocking shelves until the place closed down. When he applied for the position in the workshop, he told my cousin that he wanted to learn a new skill, something real, something he could build with his own hands. But wanting something and believing you can do it are two different things. That's what I saw in him. He wanted to learn, but he didn't believe he could. One day, my cousin asked Andre to help cut a long plank. It wasn't a difficult cut, but it had to be straight. Andre nodded, hesitated, then said, "Can you show me again?" So my cousin did. He explained the angle, the movement, the pressure. Andre listened carefully. Then he tried. The cut wasn't straight. It wasn't even close. But he didn't get discouraged. He picked up another plank and tried again. Still crooked. He stayed. After hours that day, practicing with leftover pieces of wood, measuring, cutting, and measuring again. I remember walking by the workshop after dark and hearing the soft buzz of the saw inside. Over the next few weeks, Andre kept practicing. He was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. Slowly, something began to change. The way he held the tools, the way he moved around the workshop, it became more natural. One afternoon, my cousin gave him a small project, making a wooden stool. Nothing fancy, just 4 legs and a round seat. Andre looked nervous, but he nodded. He spent hours planning, drawing, checking the measurements twice before making a single cut. He made mistakes, yes. The first leg he cut was too short. The second one wasn't even. But he kept going. He didn't give up. When the stool was finally finished, it was imperfect. The legs were slightly uneven and the surface had rough patches. But Andre had built it, with his own hands, from scratch. I remember how he always stood there, looking at it, not smiling exactly, but with a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. He didn't say much, but you could tell how proud he was. That was just the beginning. Over the months, he improved. He started helping with larger projects. He learned how to carve, how to polish, how to choose the right wood for each design. He asked questions, he listened, he tried things, failed, tried again. One day, my cousin said to me, "He's one of the best I've ever had in here. Never thought he'd go this far." I smiled and said, "It's because he didn't quit." Andre's story reminds me of something so important. Every expert you see today once stood where you stand now. Uncertain, unskilled, a little afraid. Maybe you feel like that about learning English. Maybe you think, "I'll never get it," or "I make too many mistakes." But let me tell you something. Every single person who speaks English fluently now once said their first sentence with hesitation. Everyone had to ask, "Can you say that again?" Or, "Did I say it right?" That's not failure. That's the process. You don't need to be perfect from the start. You don't even need to be good. You just need to keep showing up. Just like Andre, showing up in the workshop every day, hands shaking, still trying, that's what builds progress. That's how you grow. And I'll tell you another thing, your efforts matter even when you don't see results right away. Maybe you listened to a podcast and didn't understand much. Maybe you repeated a "ya" sentence 5 times, and still didn't get the pronunciation quite right. But every one of those moments is shaping your path. Every little action adds something. It's all part of learning. Sometimes, I think back to Andre sanding the same piece of wood over and over again. Not because someone told him to, but because he wanted to understand how it worked. That's what learning is. That curiosity, that quiet persistence, that willingness to try again. And it applies to English too. Every time you listen to a new phrase or speak out loud, even when no one is around to hear you, you're doing the work that counts. I want you to think about something you've already improved at. Maybe you once struggled to say hello in English. Now you can say hello, ask someone how they are, maybe even answer. That's growth. That's real. That's your proof that you are learning, that you are changing. Keep that in mind when things feel hard. Keep that in mind when you think others are learning faster than you. Your path is yours. Just keep walking it. You don't need to rush. You don't need to compare. You just need to keep practicing. Like Andre, taking one tool at a time, one project at a time, and learning not just the techniques but the confidence that comes with doing. You are doing that too. Every sentence you listen to, every word you repeat, every small success. That's you building your skill. Quietly, strongly. The first piece Andre ever built still sits in that workshop. It's not perfect, but it's special. Because it marked the beginning of something much bigger. Just like your early steps in English. Maybe your first sentence is a little off. Maybe your grammar isn't perfect, but it's yours. It's the start of something you'll be proud of later. And you'll look back, just like Andre, and say, I did that. I really did. I remember a time in my life when everything felt rushed. I was always in a hurry, always doing something for someone else, always trying to stay ahead. And slowly, without realizing it, I started forgetting the little things. I would skip meals or grab whatever was fast. I stopped sleeping well. I stopped drinking water regularly. I stopped checking in with myself. The irony is, I thought I was being productive. I thought that sacrificing my own comfort and energy was a sign of strength, but my body was giving me a different message. It started with headaches. Then my energy dropped. I couldn't concentrate like I used to. I felt foggy and irritable. I wasn't sick in the traditional sense, but I knew something wasn't right. One morning, I woke up exhausted after 8 hours of sleep, and I said to myself, this isn't working. That day became the start of small changes, not a big transformation, not a new lifestyle, just small, thoughtful changes, one at a time. The first thing I focused on was sleep. I had always thought of sleep as flexible, something I could adjust depending on how busy I was. But I started reading about how powerful sleep really is, how it's not just about rest, but recovery, memory, and emotional balance. So I tried something simple. I set a fixed time to go to bed. No screens for 30 minutes before. I made my bedroom darker, quieter, more peaceful. And I noticed that my sleep became deeper. I started waking up feeling like I had actually rested. That one change made every other change easier. Then I looked at hydration. It sounds so basic, but I realized I was barely drinking water during the day. I was drinking coffee in the morning, more coffee in the afternoon, and maybe some juice with dinner. But no plain water. So I got a reusable bottle and kept it near me all day. I didn't aim for a perfect number of liters. I just tried to sip throughout the day. My headaches became less frequent. My digestion improved. I felt more awake, more alert. It was such a small act, but it made a big difference. Exercise came next. Not the gym, not weights, not a routine with rules, just movement. I started walking in. The morning, not for fitness, but for fresh air. 10 minutes, 15. Sometimes I'd listen to music. Sometimes I'd just walk in silence. Then, on weekends, I added stretches. Simple ones. The kind that make you feel like your body is waking up. Over time, I noticed that I had more energy during the day, and I slept better at night. My posture improved, my mood lifted. Again, no dramatic plan. Just consistent, light movement that felt good. I also started watching how I spoke to myself. This might sound strange, but it was one of the biggest shifts. I realized that every time I forgot something or made a mistake, I would criticize myself, silently but harshly. So I began practicing gentle self-talk. When I felt tired, I said, "It's okay. You're doing your best." When I missed a walk or drank less water, I didn't turn it into failure. I just said, "Tomorrow is another chance." That kindness, that simple act of being gentle with myself, reduced so much of the pressure I was carrying. One of my close friends had a similar journey. Her name is Sophia. She's a teacher, and she used to give everything to her students. Late nights, early mornings, preparing classes, answering messages, staying after school. She loved her work, but she started getting frequent colds. She felt drained. One day, she told me, "I don't remember the last time I read a book just for myself." That hit me, so I encouraged her to take 10 minutes a day just for her. She started reading again, just a few pages every night before bed. That small habit gave her something that belonged only to her. It was calming, personal, restorative. Over time, her energy returned. Not because she took a long vacation or made big changes, but because she found one quiet moment in her day to recharge. Another person who inspired me is my neighbor, Marcus. He's in his 60s. Every morning, he waters his plants and does light stretching on his porch. He always smiles, always greets everyone passing by. One day, I asked him, "How do you stay so calm?" He said, "I take care of myself like I take care of my plants. A little water, a little sunlight, and gentle attention." That stayed with me. Self-care doesn't need to be complex. It can be simple, even joyful. When I talk to people who are learning English or going through challenging phases in life, I often hear them say, "I don't have time to take care of myself." I understand that feeling. But what I've learned is that self-care doesn't have to take time. It just needs intention. Drinking a glass of water when you wake up, stretching your arms when you've been sitting too long, taking 3 deep breaths when your thoughts feel loud. These are not grand gestures. They're reminders. They tell your body and mind, you matter. You don't have to wait for the weekend to rest. You don't have to wait for a perfect moment to start moving your body. You don't need fancy tools or routines. You just need to ask yourself, what would help me feel a little better today? And then do one small thing. One quiet, kind action for yourself. There's beauty in simplicity. There's strength in small routines. Drinking a glass of water, going to bed a little earlier, taking a slow walk, eating something that nourishes you, saying one kind sentence to yourself. These are not small things. They are life-changing over time. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. When you feel better, you think more clearly, you listen better, you learn so faster. Whether you're studying, working, parenting, or simply trying to find your way, your energy is your fuel. And when that energy is low, everything feels heavier. But when you give yourself little supports throughout the day, everything becomes a bit lighter. I'm still learning. I still have days when I forget to drink water or stay up too late. But now I notice the difference more quickly. I come back to those little habits that keep me grounded. Not because I'm perfect, but because I've learned that small things matter. A 5-minute walk can clear your mind. A full glass of water can bring focus back. A gentle stretch can ease your body. These are not just habits. They're ways of showing care. And you deserve that care. You deserve to feel well, even on your busiest days, especially on those days. As I sit here thinking about everything we've shared in this episode, I want to take a moment to speak directly to you, not just as someone learning English, not just as someone trying to improve a skill, but as a person on a journey of learning, of growth, of discovering what's possible when you believe in yourself just a little more each day. I've seen it time and time again, in others and in myself. The smallest steps can lead to the most meaningful transformations. And I want you to remember that whatever you're working toward, it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when it feels difficult, even when progress feels slow, even when no one is watching. Every person I've mentioned in this episode, each story, each small change, has something in common. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't need everything to be in place. They simply started. They tried one small thing. And that's what you're doing too. By listening to this, by staying with me until now, you're showing that same intention. You want something better for yourself. Maybe it's more confidence in speaking English. Maybe it's more calm in your daily life. Maybe it's more clarity, more energy, more presence. Whatever it is, it starts with noticing, with reflecting, with believing that you can take one more step. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that growth doesn't always feel like growth. It often feels like uncertainty, like confusion, like trying something and not getting it right the first time. But that's what growth actually looks like. It's quiet, it's humble, it's built in the background while you keep showing up. The moments when you feel stuck, when you doubt yourself, when you question if it's even worth it, those are the moments when real change is happening. Because in those moments, you have a choice. And choosing to keep going, even if it's slow, even if it's hard, that's strength. I want you to think about a time when you learned something new. Anything. Maybe it was learning to ride a bike. Maybe it was cooking a new recipe. Maybe it was understanding a song in English for the first time. At the beginning, it probably felt confusing. But over time, with repetition, something shifted. Your body understood. Your mind caught on. You didn't need to think so hard about it anymore. That's the beauty of learning. What feels difficult today will eventually feel natural. And that includes your English. That includes your self-care. That includes your confidence. I once met a woman named Amina. She had just moved to a new country. She barely spoke English, and every conversation felt like a mountain. But she told me something that stayed with me. She said, "Every morning, I remind myself that I don't need to be fluent today. I just need to try." She practiced for 5 minutes every morning. Just 5. A sentence, a short audio, a word she didn't know. And over time, her confidence grew. She started joining conversations. She started understanding more. Not because she studied for hours, but because she didn't stop. She kept trying. Every single day. You are capable of learning. You are capable of growing. Even if it doesn't feel fast. Even if it doesn't feel perfect. I want you to hear this deeply. Progress is not always loud. It doesn't always look impressive from the outside. But it's happening. When you repeat a word out loud, when you take a deep breath before speaking, when you choose to listen, even when it's hard, when you show up for yourself, even in small ways, that is progress. That is growth. I know that some days are harder than others. Some days you might feel like you're moving backwards. You might compare yourself to others. You might wonder if you're doing enough. I've felt that way too. It's part of being human. But I want you to be gentle with yourself. Speak to yourself like you would speak to a friend. You wouldn't tell a friend, "You're not doing enough." You would say, "I see you trying. I'm proud of you." So say that to yourself. Say, "I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm growing." Because you are. There's something incredibly powerful about believing in your ability to grow. Not just believing in your talents or your intelligence, but in your ability to keep going, to adapt, to get stronger with time. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from knowing everything, but from knowing that you can learn anything. From knowing that you can figure things out. From trusting yourself enough to take the next step. One of my favorite things about this community, this space we're building together, is that it's filled with people just like you. People who are curious, who are brave enough to keep learning, who want something better for themselves. You are not alone. Even if you're learning by yourself, even if no one around you understands your journey, you are not alone. Every time you listen, every time you practice, every time you reflect, you are connecting with others who are doing the same. We may be in different countries, we may speak different languages, but we share something in common, the desire to grow. So when you finish this episode, I want you to hold on to one simple idea. You are capable of learning and growing every single day. Even if it's just one new word, even if it's just one new thought, even if it's just one moment of quiet reflection. That's how it happens. That's how you move forward. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep going. And if today was a difficult day, if your mind feels tired or your motivation feels low, that's okay. You're still growing. Growth doesn't stop when things feel heavy. In fact, some of the strongest growth happens in silence, in struggle, in uncertainty. Trust that. Trust yourself. Trust that each small step matters, and each small effort adds up. You don't need permission to care for yourself. You don't need approval to speak kindly to yourself. You don't need perfect conditions to begin. Everything you need is already within you. The courage to try, the strength to continue, the heart to keep believing, even when it's hard. That's what makes you capable. That's what makes this journey worth it. So today, wherever you are in the world, whatever your day looks like, take a moment to acknowledge yourself. You showed up. You listened. You reflected. You grew. And you will keep growing. Because you are capable of learning and growing every day. And I believe in you. Let's take a quiet moment now, just you and me, to slow things down and bring the words to life. I want you to hear them, feel them, and say them. Because when you speak out loud, something shifts. The language starts to belong to you. Your voice becomes part of the learning process. This moment isn't about getting everything perfect. It's about practicing in a way that feels safe and steady. So wherever you are, whether you're walking, sitting, or resting, just let your voice join mine. Let's begin slowly. Repeat after me. I am learning English. Say it again. I am learning English. Now a little more confidently. I am learning English. Step by step. Good. Let's build on that. Repeat after me. I don't need to be perfect. Again. I don't need to be perfect. Now add this. I just need to keep going. Let's say it all together. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to keep going. Take a breath. Let those words sink in. You're not just repeating sounds, you're building a mindset, one that gives you space to learn and be kind to yourself. Now try this. I can learn something new every day. Again, slower. I can learn something new every day. One more time with intention. I can learn something new every day. That's it. Let's continue. Repeat after me. Mistakes help me grow. One more time. Mistakes help me grow. Now let's say this one together. Small steps matter. Say it again. Small steps matter. And now, I will keep going even when it's hard. Repeat. I will keep going even when it's hard. You're doing well. I want you to hear your own voice and know that each time you repeat these phrases, you're reinforcing something important. Not just vocabulary, but self-trust. Let's try a few more. Repeat after me. I am building confidence every day. Now say it again. I am building confidence every day. Let's add this. With practice, I get better. Say it one more time. With practice, I get better. Now try this one. I trust my learning process. Repeat again. I trust my learning process. Take your time. There's no need to rush. Say this out loud, even if it feels strange at first. My voice matters. Again. My voice matters. One more. I have something valuable to say. Let's say both together. My voice matters. I have something valuable to say. If you've been listening silently, maybe now is the time to try whispering. Just move your lips. Let the words travel from your ears to your mouth. Say this. I am becoming more confident. Again. I am becoming more confident. Now this. It's okay to take my time. Say it with me. It's okay to take my time. Let's add one. More. My progress is real. Repeat. My progress is real. Now let's revisit some key affirmations from earlier. Repeat after me. I am learning. Again, I am learning. Now, I am growing. One more time. I am growing. Now both together. I am learning. I am growing. Say it again. I am learning. I am growing. Now let's try some full sentences from the episode. Just repeat after me. Even small efforts make a difference. I don't need permission to learn. Every word I say helps me grow. I am allowed to make mistakes. I am building a new skill, day by day. Now let's switch the rhythm a little. I'll say a line, then give you space to say it on your own. I am learning English with patience. Pause. I believe in my ability to grow. Pause. Today, I chose to practice. Pause. My English is getting stronger. Pause. Speaking out loud helps me learn. Pause. You don't have to repeat everything perfectly. Just pick a few that feel right for you. The goal is to get used to hearing yourself in English without pressure, without judgment. Your voice is your tool. Let it be part of your progress. Let's say a few more together, slowly and clearly. I am not alone in this journey. I am part of a learning community. Other people are learning, just like me. We are growing together. I am proud of myself for trying. Take a deep breath. Let's speak this next one with clarity. I can understand more each day. Now again, I can understand more each day. And this. English is becoming part of my life. Repeat. English is becoming part of my life. Just a few more now. These are gentle reminders, not rules. Just speak them with me if you feel ready. I can speak slowly and clearly. My practice is valuable. I don't need to compare myself to others. I am exactly where I need to be. Each word I say brings me closer to fluency. Now one final round of quiet repetition. Close your eyes if you want to. I am learning something new. I am doing my best. My voice is strong. I believe in my growth. I can learn something new every day. You're doing something powerful. Just by repeating these words, you're training your mind and your mouth to work together. You're connecting what you hear to what you say. This is how it begins. One phrase, one breath, one moment of confidence.